The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. This is a podcast designed by writers for writers on the journey to being published. Joined Mandra Biscornet.
It was so healthy and nutritious.
Deborah Monk.
Can we open each podcast with a dance number?
Shelly Devlin.
It was so full of inspiration and sparkles.
Every Tuesday morning live on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to catch the podcast anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. It's time to be inspired, feel empowered, and be well with the Writer's Block Podcast NH.
And welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast. I'm Mandra.
I'm Debbie.
And I'm Shelly. Thank you for joining us at the Writer's Block, where our mission is to inspire, empower, and to help people be well. Our show today is all about what happens when you don't know what you don't know, and then what the heck happens when you find out. So you're
Fair warning, listeners.
There's a lot we don't know and still don't know. Right. So you're going through the process and you're learning something new every step of the way.
Yes.
And each of us is in a different spot or have been in a different spot and are realizing, oh gosh, I didn't know about that and I didn't know about that.
Right.
And then you turn a corner and you think you're in the clear and then yet again, you didn't know that was coming your way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the way I put it is the blank page is daunting. The first draft is a marathon. The editing is overwhelming. The publishing decision of which way to go is debilitating. And then the marketing is astronomical. Yeah. So every step when you think you've come out of the woods, there's a whole new level of scary things that you didn't know you were going to have to face.
Right.
And I for me personally, I feel like I'm further into the process than I've ever been before, and I'm just starting to get the sense of, okay, if I go forward knowing there are going to be new monsters, new things that I didn't even know I had to deal with, if I go forward with that idea, I feel like I will be more able to handle it. I won't be so surprised. And so I think
in the end, there isn't just one answer.
Right.
So that's what we're finding out.
Yes.
You need to pick what answer is right for you in all of these categories.
Because if you could just tell me what I need to do.
It would be wonderful.
Yes. Right. And there's no other answer. That's the one way.
Right. But I do,
not true.
Then again, and I do agree with that, but I guess I'm in a little, isn't there a right for you?
There needs to be a right for you.
And right. So,
but then deciding
there's too many choices. It's like when, I can't go to IKEA. I can't do it. It's too overwhelming, it's too big, too many choices. I need you to give me 3 options, and I choose from that. And what we're finding is that there's so many options that it can be debilitating right there.
Well, and what you just said, knowing what you need. For you, it's narrowed down to a couple of options, and then you can pick. So that's kind of important. I never thought of it that way.
Right. And I think what's important as far as Deb having you is that here we are thinking, Deb's gone.
I'm leading you and I know what I'm doing. Oh, darn.
Yeah, we're hanging on to your shirt tails there.
I can feel it.
Dragging her down.
Dragging her right down.
But you've gone through the process in one, on one avenue and you were traditionally published and now you're going through it a second time, but finding it's a different path.
Well, and, do you notice that my first book came out, I don't know, was 2012, I guess, so 5 or 6 years ago. I haven't, why haven't I had a book since? Now, you can say a lot of things happened in my life, true, which it did, and you can say I've been working and, I've been preparing and all of that's true. But part of it is I didn't know. I thought getting published was the be-all and the end-all. I thought that was it. And what I didn't realize is that's only Mount Kilimanjaro. Mm-hmm. Once I did that, suddenly the clouds cleared and the whole marketing thing was now Mount Everest in front of me. Right. And it was just a little bit overwhelming. I didn't know. I wasn't prepared for that. So I got to the top of Kilimanjaro and I had eaten all my food. I had, thrown the tent down the hill. So, I'd ripped off some
clothes.
The helicopter
to pick
Shelly and Mandra.
Yeah. And so I really wasn't prepared to go forward.
So let's unpack it a little bit with each of the stages. I'll talk about editing.
Perfect.
Okay, we'll go from there. So I had an opportunity to send a few pages to a professional editor and have them edited free of charge, complimentary, which I'd never done this before. I'd been editing with you guys, but never sent it anywhere. So not one to miss an opportunity. You helped me choose my 2 pages to send. Off they went. A week or 2 later, they came back, and I go to open and in an email, and I just see what I sent with nothing there. I'm like, oh, that can't be quite right. I know it's free and all, but, I'm expecting
must be
something.
something.
Did I need a comma? So then I open it another way, and I see some red marks. I'm like, okay, this is okay. I need a comma there. I need to change a word there. Few little things. I'm like, okay, that's sort of what I'd expect. It's free and all. And I'm about a couple days later, I'm ready to email the editor back and just kind of thank them for their feedback. And I actually open it the proper way in Google Docs, which apparently I was supposed to do the first time. So there's a lot of what I didn't know just in that. I open it up, and I almost fell off.
It was that
my
roadmap,
chair.
right? It was red lines everywhere and comments and.
It was almost every line was highlighted and corresponded to a feedback box in the right margin with her feedback on my one line. She wrote 4 lines about one line that I wrote. And I was like, oh my God, this is what Shelly must have felt like that first time.
Yeah.
Well,
scary.
Yeah.
And say how that when you first opened it, you, in a way, I think you said to me that I can't, Shelly's such a whiner.
Did she say that behind my back?
I don't think I exactly said that.
She didn't say it to my face.
No.
Because I would remember
This
that one.
was when-
That stung just a little bit.
Yeah, this is when you weren't there, and she didn't say that. I was teasing.
I didn't
so
say
she
whiner.
did
I
say
didn't
it
say
behind my
No.
back. Okay.
But
I think she
Okay.
said whiny bitch. Was her exact.
Okay.
Never.
She didn't say any of that, but she
Never.
did say once she saw the real thing that
Now
she
I
didn't-
get it.
and that
And
you
didn't you
didn't
write-
know.
I didn't
that-
know,
So
yeah.
she got
And
the
didn't you write
edits.
debilitating? Was that the word
Yes.
you wrote? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Were you frozen?
I was.
But she didn't know. So all that time when you were talking about it coming back, Mandra thought,
I was like, why aren't you excited about this?
right. And then she got her edits, and her first thought was, this isn't
This
this
isn't too
that
bad.
Right.
What's Shelly overwhelmed for?
Exactly.
No big
a
deal.
little bit. And
Just
then
a few
she
red
sees the real
marks.
thing. And she says, now I know what Shelly was talking about.
You didn't know where to start.
She didn't know what you were talking about.
Exactly. And I
Right.
thought, if I get this
On 2
much
pages.
feedback on two pages,
pages.
this is going to take me 10 years to get through this thing.
Right.
Well, the flip side of that is that this is an editor who is looking probably to do your entire book and wants to put their best foot forward. So with only 2 pages, you
True.
have time to break it down.
And once I actually read all of the feedback, some of it was, she's very encouraging, like, this was good here, you're doing a good job, blah. And then over here, you're starting to do more telling, you need to work on that. And it wasn't like every single thing needed to be fixed.
So tell
but
me,
it
when
was-
you got done, you went back to the good comments, didn't you? And reread them again.
Oh, yes,
'Cause you were-
absolutely.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I took pictures of them. But it was really an eye-opener as far as what you had already been through, and I wasn't poo-pooing it, but I was like,
But
how
you
bad
weren't
can that be? I
understanding.
wasn't understanding
Right.
by any means. And here I thought I had a few red marks that, needed some attention,
Right.
but clearly it
And
needed a
that's
lot more
why
attention.
all of those different ways for you to open it were
Is important.
is important
To
and
know.
overwhelming at the same time.
So having some technical skills, I clearly, I needed because I didn't even open it the right way.
And you would probably want all of those things turned on, being your personality. I would want the commas and the misspelled and the
Right.
grammatically correct things turned off. I don't want to see those.
You just
That's what
want
I'm
her to do
paying
it.
her for.
Right.
Right.
I want her to just do it.
After my initial shock and awe, I read the comments and I could totally see what she was talking about as far as what needed some fixing and how it was going to make my story that much stronger. It still was overwhelming to think there's another 100-something pages
Yes.
that if somebody like her looks at, there's just yellow everywhere, highlighted, red, all sorts of things. Yeah.
It's
So-
daunting.
Yeah. So that was what I didn't know
Right.
for the editing process. Shell, why don't you take us into the publishing?
So the publishing process has been crazy because, my editor does traditional publishing, and after having, who did we have on that I loved the way Bridget. I loved the way Bridget talked about not having a publisher change your words. That your book is your book, and you put it out the way you want it.
Right.
And I'm stuck to that, and that's good. But then when I went into self-publishing which they say self-publishing, but really a hybrid, like Balboa Press. I found these articles on, 25 other companies that were...
Well, and let's explain. What is hybrid?
So, the hybrid, you're basically... they're calling themselves self-publishing, though, Deb.
Right,
So
but you're
saying
buying a
self-publishing.
package.
Right.
A package that covers a bunch of different services, really.
Right.
Who owns the book when you go through those services?
You still do own your book.
Okay, so you're not selling it to a publisher
But
at
they
that
do
point.
have some... They still have some hold on you. You still have your book. But the hold they have is you've already spent. Anything from... Balboa Press goes from $1,000 to $14,000 in their package.
Wow.
Now, the $14,000 package has... we all have seen the marketing little trick where, the last 10 items really just don't mean anything.
They just look good.
Like you get a sticker for your door. Like this shit, that doesn't matter, right? But they put it in there. It's a part of the $14,000.
I get a mug.
I want a sticker.
You get a mug with the
your
name of your book on
Right.
it, But they all have different categories. And so Deb, you were saying the difference between, they're calling themselves self-publishing, but you're saying they're more hybrid.
Well, no, I'm saying let's explain. So if you're self-publishing means you're putting the book out yourself.
Correct.
Now, under the umbrella of self-publishing, you can either do it all yourself.
Yes.
Or you can go with a hybrid publisher. And under the hybrid publisher, they offer a lot of the services that a traditional house offers. So
But you don't have to be accepted. They're going to take
Right.
you if you're
Right.
willing
You're paying
to pay.
them. You're a
You're going to
customer.
pay for
Right.
it. You're going to pay for your book design. You're going to pay for formatting. You're going to pay for editing.
Right.
And all of those things can be a la carte.
Right. And this was an eye-opener because...
hybrid is still very new.
Right. And we didn't know there were so many options.
Under the hybrid umbrella?
Right.
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 And under the
ranging
pay
in that-
scale.
And the pay scale.
Yeah.
From $875 to $3,000 in that category. Balboa goes up to $14,000 for self-publishing.
And then we were talking about what if you do it all yourself? How much do you end up spending?
Right. Or you can do it all yourself and not really pay a lot for that. You can design your own cover, you can do your own formatting. You have to have, kind of learn how to do that. But you can go on YouTube and there are videos on how to format the book.
And even on Create Space, they have different drop downs with their community blog that teaches you exactly how to format in Word so that you can upload it to Create Space, which is truly self-publishing.
What are some of the names of the hybrid publishing companies?
Some of those
that you
publishing
found?
companies, they had Infinity Publishing, Balboa Press, Trafford, Book Baby, Lulu, iUniverse, Westbow Press, Dog Ear Publishing, Mill City, Author House, Outskirts Press.
How many of these have been
endless.
reached out to advertise on the Writer's Block podcast? Just asking for a friend.
That would be...
All of them as of later today.
Okay.
That was a great
That's a
answer.
great idea. That was a good answer, right? Thanks.
Good
High
job,
five.
Deb.
I would have sold that ad before
Good
I
job,
mentioned
Deb.
anyone's name specifically, but that's just me.
I know. That's a great idea, Jonathan.
He was half impressed with us right now.
Right.
Half impressed.
Plus, they should be trying
Not a half a mark.
He's impressed with himself.
But the same thing is that you don't know what you don't know till you start digging. Then you
Right.
start digging, and reviews are scary because you can just get endless.
You mean reviews on these hybrid
reviews
publishers?
on these hybrid publishers.
Right.
And then it's just...
So then that kind of speaks to the route that Deb has taken where she gets referrals, people that, come word of mouth that somebody else has worked with, and you've kind of put together your own
team.
Your own team,
Right.
like your
so
editor.
I'm not doing it myself. We have seen books. I'm not that you can do it all yourself. I'm not that person. We also have, all of us have brought in many self-published books that don't look professional because they did it themselves.
Right.
So I'm not saying that you can't do it. You can do it. It's going to take a lot of time. And so I just chose not to invest my energy that way. And I've hired a team of, I have my editor, I have my cover artist, I have my formatter. But I'm kind of the hub, so when any one of them needs anything, they reach out to me for it.
You're like the general contractor.
I was just going to say,
of your
she
book.
is the general contractor.
Yes, and you sub out these other jobs.
Right. Whereas the advantage to a hybrid is all of those would be under the same umbrella. Now, when I published traditionally, none of that was on me. I literally sent them the Word doc. I was the writer. I sent them the Word doc and shook my hands, and then they did the cover art. They came back and asked my opinion. I asked them to change the color. They were willing. They didn't have to. I didn't have any say in the formatting, nor did I really want to. Like, they took care of everything, which was lovely.
Are there channels that you can go through to network with the people that you would need to self-publish?
Meaning?
Like how she
Well,
found the
your
folks
photographer that you have, your editor, your formatter.
I think
Well, people
some of
could-
that you got from writers groups, like your other writers groups that they had used.
No.
People? No?
No, I don't think so. But, you know, I did hire some people. Like, I hired one cover artist, and I bought her package, and it was unlimited. She made every change I asked, but she just didn't have the artistic eye. She wasn't giving me what I wanted, even though she did specifically what I said. So, you know, it wasn't that expensive, fortunately, but that didn't work well for me. So I have pulled together my team. I would be happy to share that with any of our listeners if they were, I would need to confirm with all of my people, but, you know, I'd be happy to share my formatter if she's willing to do this work for other people. I got her from my old publishing house.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And I got my editor from Nancy Aroney, who wrote the book Writing from Your Heart. And I had been to her workshop years ago, so I reached out to her. She recommended my editor, Howard. And then my cover artist actually was a friend, and she's a photographer, and I had worked with her, and she just really, I just could tell she was just, she gets me.
Yeah.
And so I've been
But there wasn't
very
any
happy.
one sort of hub or place for you to find these
No.
folks.
No.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, if you don't have a friend who, or you know, an
Colleagues that-
then hybrid could definitely be the way for a lot of people to go. Because basically what happened is traditional, the only way you could be published earlier was traditional. So nobody ever had any say in their cover. You know, Fabio was on every cover of any top romance writer because that's what sold. You know, a woman didn't have, a writer didn't have a choice whether Fabio was on her cover or not.
Gotcha.
That was all those decisions were made by the publishing house, which in one way is a relief because then as a writer, you can just go
Less you
on
have
to
to
writing
do,
your next
yeah.
book, but you don't have any control.
Right.
So then what happened is, you know, with Amazon and CreateSpace and Kindle and the electronic
It opened up the
books,
doors.
people started having this ability to self-publish. Well, that means there are all these writers who don't know how to do all of this other stuff, which is how the hybrid came to be. Now, what I do find fascinating is one of Shelly's and my favorite writers is Chris Radish. Chris Radish was traditionally published. She wrote on Dancing Naked at the Edge of Dawn.
Yeah.
Traveling...
The Annie Freeman's
Traveling
Fabulous
Funeral?
Traveling Funeral.
Yeah.
My favorite book.
She's wonderful. And she started her own publishing house and basically went self-publishing. So I recently reached out to her because I wanted to just get a sense of, actually what I was hoping was I could get published by her. I thought, let's start a publishing house. I'll be part of your publishing house, Chris Radish.
That sounds like a good idea, Chris. Let's do
I
it.
thought it was a good idea.
Of course you did.
So I reached out to her hoping that conversation would come about and we would become best friends. But, and I would... I would start a second podcast called Debbie and Chris. But anywho.
Wow. Do you feel the love?
Yeah, that didn't happen. What she did tell me is she has gone with a hybrid publisher, which I found fascinating. So I'm hoping that I'm going to reach back out to her and see if maybe she would like to be on our show and say, you know, why did you choose to go that route?
Right. So these were all things you didn't know.
I had no idea.
And you didn't, right. Exactly. Is there anything else about the marketing end that you didn't know?
I do think that one thing, I was with a friend last night who's a writer. His first book just came out 2 months ago. And he termed this phrase, he has postpartum writer's depression, which he had no idea was
even
coming.
happened, yeah.
Right.
So he
He
published
put
his
the book out.
Yeah.
And he, you know, there's a feeling afterwards of now
Now
he
what?
just has no idea what to do. He has already started writing his next book, which is great. But it's quite intimidating. And if you understand, if you recognize that this is coming, like I know, you know, with my books coming so soon, you guys like to tease me, you know, that I have books coming out. And that's wonderful. And I'm thrilled about that. I'm now at least a little bit aware of after they come out, I'm going to wake up the next day and my life is not going to have changed like we all think
Right.
in the back of our minds.
And you're going to be missing something that you were so focused on for so long.
No, because I'm already on the next project.
Okay.
You know that.
But I think the point is you're going to find through the process that there are things you don't know.
And there are going to be feelings that come up that aren't pretty.
Yeah.
And
And
they're going
it's
to
all
keep coming
normal.
up. And
Yeah.
they're never going to stop.
Right.
They're going to come up whether you're published or not published. You
Whether
think
it's your
when you're-
second time, third time,
Right.
whatever. And
Yes.
that's just part of the journey.
Yes.
So embrace it,
Absolutely.
and move along.
Oh, my goodness.
I think we are going to take a little walk around the neighborhood and check in there. Shell, do you want to?
I have a little project check-in since
Okay.
we've been chatting. Now, Mandra, you weren't here last week, and I said
wasn't.
that I was practicing being a public school teacher, and my project was the public school system, and I was taking the summer off.
I did hear that.
So what
And
I
we
learned...
haven't had our meeting yet, so that's still on the table.
I know.
That's coming Thursday.
Right? Exactly. But what I learned, again, what you don't know, right, is that I had a friend
You need to have a degree to do that. No?
Right. Exactly. No, that I can't take the summer off. A little bit of Jonathan, I will admit, made me start thinking in the truck when I left here last week. But I had my friend Michelle, who is designing my front cover, stopped in last night in the 40 minutes that we sat and caught up on each other's lives. So really maybe 12 minutes of it was about my book, which it should have been all the 45, but I had to give her some airtime. And I texted her this morning. I'm like so inspired that I'm back on.
Great.
Like, it's good. She's like, but the question that always comes up is, who the hell's going to want to read this? Like, it keeps popping in. That ugly little devil on your shoulder comes in and is like, for what? Right? For what? And she got me out of that, but she's somebody that knows me.
Yeah.
So, and what I didn't know, which I was super surprised, she's like, listen, I got that front cover almost done. She goes, what you didn't know is when you're out sick the other day, I went into the salon and I took a bunch of pictures of the chair. The hydraulic chair, the
cool.
mirror, the whole salon, so that she can pencil sketch out this front cover of As the Chair Turns. So she's making progress when I decided I was going to give up for the summer.
Right.
So I got
Because you subbed out to a really great person to keep it going.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have been reading, so I've been,
And that
trying to
counts.
read a lot of self-published, truly self-published. And when I'm finding the spelling mistakes in their books and the formatting that the paragraph is off and indentations are wrong, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want my book to be that.
Right. We won't let it.
No. So
I say until my book comes out and you guys say, oh, you should have checked your own book.
So a little break, but I'm back in. I'm
Great.
back in.
Good.
All
Need
right.
constant coaching.
Well, that's funny. I'm over at Deb's Life Pondering Square. What I am doing this week, I was hoping to have it, but I've been thinking about the fact that very soon I am going to have readers. Mm-hmm. And you know what it makes me want to do? I've started making presents for my readers.
Oh,
Of
Lord.
course you have, Deb.
People
That's going to
out
be
there
another
in the world.
$10,000 cost.
Is that what you're doing in the basement when you disappear for hours?
Yes. And I would have had my first sample today, but I used 3mm metal stamps, and I decided today I have to go to the store and get 2mm to make it look better, so I don't have the first one to show you guys, which I'd hoped I would. But yeah, I mean,
that's very
if I
nice
have,
of you.
So-
You should charge them for it.
I was going to say, and the stream of income is these will be for sale on your
Right,
website.
exactly.
maybe eventually, but right now my thought is if anybody's out there who has an idea of how I can give presents to my readers, please.
Isn't the story enough of a gift?
Amen.
With all of the work you put in on it?
Right. The enjoyment of reading your story.
Why don't you make me some friggin' cookies? For all I do for you.
I love it.
You don't want cookies lately, but if you can email me at deb@deborahmonk.com if anybody has an idea of how, I just don't know, how do I get these presents? If I have 2 readers, I can give all my readers a present. If I have 200, well, I might be able to close.
What if you have 2 million?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that.
I'll be burning the house down, and all of the presents will go with it.
I just got chills.
So you want people to email you as to how you can distribute those presents?
Yeah,
Okay.
if there are contests that they can think of, or if there are, I don't know. I don't know how to.
Stuff a golden ticket in every other book.
Ooh.
I can't because they're coming from Amazon. I thought of that. I thought of putting a raffle ticket in every book.
You could
but I
do that
can't.
when you sell them.
Yeah, when you do
like
your
at book
book
signings
signings.
and
Yep,
stuff. You can do it that way.
Yep.
And
So
those are the
that-
people that make the big effort to go to the book signing.
Right.
So they
that-
should get the prizes.
Oh, that's definitely, that is already done.
Yeah.
But so
Okay.
Deb@deborahmonk.com, ideas on how to give my readers gifts.
All right. Perfect. I am going to segue to Mandra's Wellness Corner quickly and just follow up on, I had been talking about gratitude and how to work it into your life. And then my husband shattered his elbow, needing surgery. So it really brought me back to being in the hospital and the way that I used gratitude and visualization when we were in that, when he was getting his heart transplant. So I just wanted to talk about So he had to be hospitalized for this surgery and was in the Brigham for 4 or 5 days. And the next day when I went down to visit him, I started to put things in a bag to bring to make the room the way I knew it needed to be made.
Oh, wow.
So I brought a picture of my son and Brad. They're both in firefighter uniforms. And so that was going to make Brad less of a patient and more of a person, that he's a dad, he's a firefighter, he's not just some idiot that fell off doing a box jump at his obstacle course training and shattered his elbow. And the Happy Father's Day artwork that our son had made for him. And family members brought in plates of cookies for the nurses and the staff that were coming in and out of the room. So we were already saying thank you in a way from day one before the surgery was even done.
If I get hurt, I want to be married to Mandra.
Seriously.
Me too.
I know.
I want to be married to her now. She cooks in the crock pot. She brings pictures.
I love it. I know.
Yeah. So in just small ways, I that's a way, like if you have someone who is sick and in a hospital or somewhere for a while, you make them a person by bringing in those personal things and remember to say thank you in any way you can to the staff and the people that are taking care of that person.
Right.
Because it goes a long way.
Right. I want to say thank you to my readers because I completely agree with you, Mandra.
Yeah.
July 17th. We're still scheduled for that release date.
Awesome. And your intent is great. We just got to figure out how to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody, for listening. And please be sure to check out the Writer's Block Facebook page, the Writer's Block podcast on your favorite podcast catcher. And may you be inspired, feel empowered, and be well. Attention cigar smokers or even friends of a cigar smoker. If you're looking to relax with a nice premium cigar or looking for a great gift for a cigar smoker, this is the gift that keeps on giving. Our friends at twoguyscigars.com have created the Cigar of the Month Club. For just $19.99 per month, you or a friend will receive 4 different premium handmade cigars every month, and shipping and handling is included.
Contact twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com, and go to the Cigar of the Month Club. You can stop anytime because there's no contract, but you won't. This is a tremendous deal for our listeners. Go to twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com, and click the Cigar of the Month Club.
At the same time, if you want to learn more about the cigars you receive each month, you can smoke along with them on our own podcast called The Cigar Authority. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a nice premium cigar from our friends at twoguyscigars.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.